Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad. My name is Austin.
And my name is Patrick.
And guys, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, we got AVT and PAT. They talking about young Americans overseas. We got McKennie, Pulisic, Reina, and Des. Got that red, white, and blue USA on the crest. From England, Germany, from Belgium to Spain. Racking up all the medals on the trophy train. Got one thing on their mind, we're skill and some love. One day we can say we will win the World Cup.
Well, guys, it is great to be back this week. And first, we just got to give you guys an update. You know, Pat lives in Florida right now, actually lives around the Tampa area. So we just want to let everyone know he's safe and sound.
Oh, good.
And, yeah.
Appreciate that, Austin. And yeah, so we're back. It's good to be back filming some normalcy. We were evacuated for a little while, just cleaning up, but it's, fortunate for our area, but very unfortunate for Fort Myers and down by Naples. So, there's a lot of other, disaster relief funds there and things that you guys can check out. But fortunate for us in Tampa, nothing too crazy. So aside from that, getting the power back, it was great to enjoy some soccer this weekend and now filming with you, Austin. So hopefully you had a better weekend than we did down here.
Yeah, right. Well, I was going to say you didn't miss too much through the international window, unfortunately.
Hurricane in itself.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. So we'll get to that today. We'll actually talk about that a little bit later in the episode. But first, we want to start off today with some great weekend performances, right, Pat? We had some good players, or some players with some good performances this weekend. Some players actually back from injury. So we're excited to talk about that today to start us off.
Yeah, definitely. Just because you had those feelings of just pessimism, and just nerves, right? Because it's October already. We're filming here on October 3rd. It's not too far away. Qatar is not far away. And it's great to see some of the guys, right? You're back from training, you're getting form, getting on the score sheet or, stat line with assists and just, putting their head down, putting everything in the past and just focusing on getting into the best form and best shape before the biggest stage here.
Yeah. And we can't be more excited, even with the abysmal international window. But we're going to look past that. We're going to start off today with Christian Pulisic. So Christian's a player we haven't talked about in a little while. Obviously, if you've been paying attention to the Chelsea situation this year, Thomas Tuchel was just fired before the international window started. So, all season, it's kind of been a battle between him and Pulisic, right? Whether or not he's going to get the playing time he feels he's deserved or, played in the position he felt he was deserved. So now Graham Potter's at Chelsea. And this weekend, we actually got to see Christian Pulisic make a goal contribution. So he came off the bench, only played 6 minutes, which, is a little disappointing, right? We're hoping that, this change with Graham Potter gets him a little bit more playing time, gets him some starts too. But again, the most positive part of this weekend was that he actually contributed to Chelsea's game-winning goal. So he actually provided the assist for Conor Gallagher's 90th minute, winner for Chelsea, 2-1 over Crystal Palace. And yeah, it was quite the goal from him. Great curling shot, past the goalkeeper, just outside the box. And at the end of the day, again, it gives Chelsea the win, which, they're in need of some points right now to start the season. And again, it gives Christian his first goal involvement of the whole season. I think, again, this is positive coming away from, again, a rough international break. And again, a new situation for Christian too, right? With Graham Potter coming in, we're all really curious to see how that'll impact his playing time, how he'll, be used in his system, right? Is he going to be, more of a winger? Will he play maybe centrally? Will he play up more, higher the pitch as an attacker, maybe even a central attacker at some times. But, in this game, it looked like he played his natural winger position, right? And it looks like Graham's going to play a system that really suits Christian going forward this year. So I think that was the biggest takeaway with his assist this weekend is kind of, it looks like, he's got a future again at Chelsea. And I wanted to share actually a quote with you, Pat, that came from Graham Potter, I believe this weekend, about Christian and his role in the team. So he basically said, "I can only comment on him in terms of how he's been with me. Really positive. He's an intelligent guy, articulate, knows how to express himself. My conversation with him has been good and positive. I'm not going to judge anybody what has happened in the past. I'm going to make my own mind up. Football hopefully decides. So I thought those comments by Graham Potter were really, really positive about the opportunity Christian has in front of him, right? It really sounds like, the slate's clean and all of the maybe stigma from Thomas Tuchel and, how he viewed Christian Pulisic, might actually be gone. And he really has a fair chance to break into this Chelsea team for the first time this year.
Yeah. And I think he wants to be part of that next Pulisic book, the Ascension again. I had to throw that in there.
He wants to stay off of Mark Pulisic's Twitter. That's kind of where Graham Potter's head is at, I guess.
Right. So, yeah, I think just turning over a new leaf here, it'll be interesting to see where Potter fits in, like you said. And this is maybe not the most ideal minutes, right? And again, coming back from international break, we're filming on a Monday, so Champions League here coming up, so might see a start or more game time as well, with some other players not performing, around him on the pitch. So,
right,
yeah, it's great to see him get an assist, and you could say obviously Gallagher did all the work with the goal, but even the build up in the minutes he had looked very sure of himself in the final third. His dribbles, getting it past a few players, looked crisp and clean on the ball. Again, just a revitalized Christian Pulisic post Tuchel era. So, yeah, I think this is such a critical time in his career with club and then even the World Cup at the biggest stage. Not maybe having the ideal playing time and just all this drama that's ensued, right? But I think if he can turn things around and really just embrace this moment, because he's coming into that age. He's at that top, right? He was at Chelsea. He's kind of fallen off a bit from the pecking order. World Cup's right here. Can he be that guy when he was first brought onto the scene with us? It's just a very interesting crossroads in his career right now.
Yeah, and I think really for Christian, he just needs to have some patience. And I'm not saying he hasn't had patience. I just think, right now we're, like you said, Pat, about a month, 2 months out from the World Cup. So again, with his situation at Chelsea, I don't think he's really going to be able to change it much, right? He needs to obviously contribute, his all in training and really, have the right attitude, with the team, right? And trying to earn his place in the team. But I think he shouldn't get too high or too low about where his spot is at Chelsea right now. Because again, if he has a great World Cup, I think his value again skyrockets, right? And his his view of people's view of him at Chelsea, if he has a great World Cup, will change 180, right? Like I think from where he's at now versus where we're hoping he'll be coming off the World Cup, I really think his spot at Chelsea is largely going to be determined by that rather than, if he has one or two good performances leading into the World Cup with them. I that's just how I view it personally. So I think he just needs to do all he can right now to, ride out the situation, again, put his best foot forward and, kind of let everything else fall in line and again, focus on the World Cup, right? Stay healthy going into that, do preparation leading into it, getting the team right after this, international window. We've kind of had some turmoil, trying to get some of our players on the same page and have a successful World Cup. I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm at with Christian right now. I think that could be his focus and, help him out also with his career.
Couldn't agree more. Injuries are key, right? Being healthy. That's the number one thing, and things that have really kind of stunted and derailed some of his growth here. So
right,
that's certainly crucial. So I wanted to pivot over to Serie A, and we're seeing a lot more Americans in Serie A, which is exciting and really exciting. Yeah. There seems to be a lot of great parity there across the board from the top teams, and we're going to talk about the old lady and Weston McKennie for Juventus. So he started the game, Austin. 60 minutes he went and got an assist in a 3-0 win against Bologna. So that puts him back on track after a really abysmal start here under Allegri. Really, really just trialing time for Juventus. You could see it with their half-filled stadium, which is pretty appalling to me just looking around, during the game. But nonetheless, the players looked inspired. They looked fresh and motivated off the international break. McKennie sat in a 4-4-2 in the midfield on the right side there with Locatelli, Kostic as well on the left, and then Rabiot was also in there in the middle. So interesting to see McKennie right on that right side. He had some connections there in defense with Danilo, as well as a fantastic assist here to Vlahovic, where it was a lot of great open play, great counters. Juventus looked much more convincing. A lot of their goals hadn't come from open play, and to see them look more crisp and sure in the final third, and McKennie fluid in that midfield, using that engine right and some of the technical ability there. The players just looked more together, more cohesive. And that really played to McKennie's assist here, where Kostic passed it one touch. Locatelli found McKennie making a darting run out wide, overlap on the right, and McKennie just a beautifully weighted cross one time over to Vlahovic, who headed it in. It was a beautiful sequence, and you're really happy for McKennie to get back on track with an assist, especially after some of the criticism, right, for a club and country here that he's faced.
Yeah, I thought that was really positive to see, and Juventus is really just, they've struggled this year, right? I think you said on the episode before the international break that they're a tough watch this year. They've just not been very together in attack, and their attack just hasn't been good, right? Vlahovic is a great player, but they're really having troubles getting him service. So it was really positive this weekend to see McKennie contribute to that. And we know he has it in him, right? Like, he's an all-around fantastic midfielder. I really think, he's to a point now where even if he's not in the best form, he's still a really, he just contributes, right? He's always someone who can either contribute on defense if it's not working for him on offense, or, be that outlet and passer, or contribute as, an outlet up top, right? We've seen him take down balls. We've seen him contribute on set pieces. Like, he's just so versatile. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So it's good to see him, kind of, make some headway and rediscover some of that form. Yeah,
really great, versatile, a great word to use, and why Allegri loves him so much and praises him so much is being able to shift formations and like you said, maybe he's not having the best day in the final third. The defensive work, the work rate he has there, and the ability to get stuck in and challenge aerial duels and win duels. Maybe on the flip side, it's working offensively, making those bursting runs back and forward. A lot of the other Juventus midfielders had their limitations. Rabiot is a guy who very limited player. Definitely the opposite of versatile, not to criticize too harsh. But Paredes hasn't had the best start there. So he's been out. And I think Weston just maybe won't ever be that, that Modric or Madrista right in the middle of the pitch, but such a crucial component, can kind of be multiple, cogs in that midfield engine. That obviously, if you take that out, is critical. But again, maybe not that main one per se, but somebody that you can float around, one or two kind of, focal points there, and makes the midfield kind of, again, engine hum essentially. So
I feel like he's like Musa in the sense that he just kind of fills in the gaps, right? Like, you can have a few players who have like really strong strengths, and then let him kind of just fill in as needed. And he's like I said, he's so versatile, so he can fill a few different roles.
Couldn't have said it better. Tremendous player there, and great to see him get that assist, get back on form. Juventus getting that win. It's a really, really tough league in Serie A with Milan, Atalanta, Napoli, unbelievable. And it's going to be a tough ask for them, but I still think they can break into that top four and get the Champions League spot. They also have Champions League this week, so it's constant action there. Now with Di Maria, coming back from that red, Chiesa back in training, Paredes maybe again getting back into form here soon. Hopefully, it's going to be a lot of competition, a lot of rotating spots there. The Juventus also has some young players there on the bench, so hopefully McKennie continues this form, this momentum here from this game. Juventus can pick it up, and he can be a critical part of their essentially a rebuild. They're still kind of in that rebuilding process.
Yeah, it's so weird to see. Juve just not at the top of the table anymore, right? It's been almost 2 years now, I think, since that's been kind of the regular, reality that we were living in. So, they're definitely trying to rebuild the team and, figure out a new way to get back to the top of the table. And Serie A is so weird this year, right? Like, Udinese is top 3 right now, which no one would have called going into the season.
No.
So, I think there's a lot of time left for them to kind of get things figured out. And Vlahovic looks like a fantastic player. So if him and McKennie can get some synergy going, then I think that could pay big dividends for them. But now we want to move over to the Netherlands and talk about a player who's kind of been a pretty big, topic of discussion, especially when that roster was announced going into the international window. But that's Ricardo Pepi. So Ricardo, has gone on loan right now to Groningen, right? And has really started to rediscover his form. So this weekend scored another goal, this time off a really, I would say, gritty. It was a gritty goal, right? He kind of got the ball. It was a nice sequence of play. Long ball down the field. He got onto it and kind of got knocked down. Got back up and scored a goal. At close range, around the goalkeeper. This brings his goal tally to 2 in the Eredivisie. Also has 1 assist in 3 games. So. Again, he's producing ever since he's gone on loan. And I think that's the really positive thing from this move so far this season is that he's hit the ground running, right? He's gotten a lot of playing time right from the start, which we were, expecting and hoping for. And it's good to see that, with some game time in a different environment, he's really just been able to kind of pick up where he left off at FC Dallas. And I think, it's going to bode well for him throughout this year. I think it's really going to bode well for him going into the World Cup because, as we know, Pat, from some of Greg Berhalter's comments, he's definitely a player that Greg thinks very highly of, which I don't disagree. I think he's a very quality player. But when you look at some of our other strikers, which, Pifak, one of our, favorite boys, right, Pat? Maybe not getting the love he deserves. It's interesting to kind of see, I guess, Greg's opinion on him. So, I think right now things are going well at the club level. Unfortunately, we didn't see too much at the national team level, right? We, got to see him for, I think, a little under 60 minutes against Saudi Arabia. Not too many opportunities. Again, not a great performance from us as a whole. A little disjointed and just not very, it just wasn't a quality game from us at all. Quality attacking game even. Against Saudi Arabia. So it's tough to, we try and put him in those situations and give him an opportunity. But, when you're not getting service, it's tough to really, take a chance. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on Pepi's season so far?
When you're losing possession that much, no chances. But like you said, I'm happy for Pepi. And the important thing is another goal. And again, maybe not the strongest team, but a very good league. Against a good opponent, obviously a brutal result, but Pepi just getting on the score sheet, getting that confidence up. I think it's really important because some players would have just, again, with the rough time at their parent club, original club, going on loan, might not be able to pick it up like this. I think the important thing was the timing too, obviously with the World Cup, but if maybe, let's say, World Cup wasn't in the fall here and he just stayed at Augsburg still, he's still kind of losing that confidence on the bench there week after week. I think just to get him out so early here for the start of this season was so pivotal. And I think maybe the World Cup kind of blessed with that timing. And I think that will really bode well for us in Qatar.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think if he's going to be on the plane, right, we want him in good form. So I think this was the perfect move. Go a step down and really kind of rediscover your form in a league that's known to be friendly to attackers, right? That's kind of what we've seen from some other, USMNT players who have gone and played in the Netherlands. They've really had a lot of success. So I love this move. I really think it's the right move for him right now. And again, I think if he can, rediscover his form, continue to grow as a striker, I think he's still used his time in Germany well to grow as a striker and, get stronger. I think he's even made better runs in my time that I've, seen him at Groningen. I think, that aspect of his game has definitely improved since his time at FC Dallas. And I think he's gone about this whole move the right way. So that's what I'm really excited about, Pat. And, time will tell. We'll see who Greg brings to the World Cup in terms of strikers. It sounds like he's probably just going to bring 3. So we'll have to see, I guess, how the cookie.
We want 4, Austin. We want 4.
I would love 4.
Are you fucking kidding me? I have to say it. Even though this is a Pepi subject. But yeah, all the best. Ricardo is a tremendous player, a young talent still, and again, it's great to see him doing so well in Europe and in Eredivisie, a great league to develop. So with that, I do want to pivot to a center back, Austin. That it's going to be tough. He's right in the fringes of making that World Cup roster, and it's Mark McKenzie, who's in tremendous form for Genk there over in the Jupiler League. So 2-1 win for Genk against Oostende over the weekend, 2-1, where McKenzie went the 90 minutes. I think he had 88 touches, reading some of the raw stats there from Brian Sheretta. 68 of 74 passing and 9 passes into the final third, as well as 10 of 14 long balls. So other stats could mention, very good ground aerial duels, but I think what's important is the passes into the final third, the long balls, they're connected, just the passing in general, some of the line-breaking passes. That's something that we were lacking in bringing back to the friendlies there, and what we've lacked over our center-back pairings, and maybe injuries have played a role where we haven't seen some other guys. But ever since McKenzie got that starting role, Genk has been tremendous. He's been tremendous alongside Cuesta there. They've really held down the fort, keeping them in second place. I think with Antwerp losing, they're only 2 or 3 points back. So it's a pretty tight race there with Brugge, of course, as well in third. So, yeah, just another guy that I don't know if it's too little too late, but nonetheless has really found his footing in Europe in that club environment. And that only bodes well for us, moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I'm curious to see how this whole center back conversation plays out with Greg. Cause I don't know. Is he going to stick to his guns, only play Walker Zimmerman and Aaron Long, or is he going to make a change, right? Is it going to be my guy, John Brooks? Is he going to bring John Brooks up, or is he going to...
As a number 9, Austin.
Oh God, no, thank you. But, or is he going to go to someone like Mark McKenzie, right? He already talked about Chris Richards and what his, qualities bring to the table. And, you kind of see that with Mark McKenzie's game and how he's played this year, right? He's really become a solid top defender in the Belgian league. And, some of those assets that Chris Richards brings, right, in terms of his passing ability and range, Mark McKenzie also is really, done a lot of work to refine. And that's another part of his game. I guess the biggest question is, Pat, again, how is Greg going to use our center backs? Is he going to, delegate them or relegate them to just passing around the back and kind of being those, possession keepers back there? Or is he going to let some of these, center backs who have that passing range, vision, and ability, take command and play long balls and use that part of their game, to our advantage? I don't know. I'm hoping it's the latter, but
I'm hoping too. If he was more flexible and would be open to a plan B or C, which we'll get into, because McKenzie offers so much, and I think him and EPB are kind of in that same, in terms of where they are in the race or fight for a spot. Obviously, Long and Zimmerman are locked, to go to Qatar. We know that. Richards, if healthy. So again, injuries are another thing that could come into play. And I think McKenzie's kind of on that outside looking in on that bubble. But overall, from the friendlies, overall with Genk and his club, it's been so pivotal since he's taken that starting role here. And obviously their other Colombian center back was sold. But that opened up the pathway for him, and he's really seized that opportunity. Now, you could argue he's made some pretty tremendous mistakes for the USMNT in the past. Maybe tremendous is harsh, but some glaring notable mistakes. But you do look on the flip side and try to put that to the side and look at some of the positive aspects of his game. Like you said, we've talked about his passing, line breaking, his longer range in terms of passing and what he offers versus Aaron Long, what we've seen there. I think it might be time for a change. It might be too little too late in terms of the mind of Berhalter. But nonetheless, I'm really happy for Mark. And I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet. I think he can continue to grow, work a little bit more on physicality, right? Maybe not the most physical guy compared to a Zimmerman or that type of profile. But he's trending in the right direction. And I'd love to see him, again, continue form in Belgium and maybe take another step up.
Yeah, and I think maybe with this center back situation, it comes down to form, right? And Aaron Long clearly is not in the best form of his career. I think it's safe to say he's not looked good, right, the past few months. And again, I don't think that's his like normal, regular, I guess, ability, right? I think he's kind of in a rough patch right now, and maybe if he was, at his normal level, or if he was in great form, then maybe he would be deserving of a starting role within our national team. But I think, Greg's got some thinking to do, and kind of look at, again, form and how it plays a role in some of his decisions within our starting lineup. And if you talked about injury, if injuries start to play a role even outside the center back situation, again, I think you got to look at form and what club form players are in. Another player that really comes to mind is like Luca De La Torre. He's not getting much playing time at his club right now. Not to say he looked bad in this window, but I don't think he had nearly the same impact, especially versus Japan, that we've seen in some of his other appearances for the national team. So, again, is some of that lack of form kind of hurting his play? And, is there maybe a different option to go with over him? I think it's something to talk about.
We need options.
We always need
options. And I think Mark is putting himself in that good conversation, right? He didn't hurt his stock. I think he went slightly positive. And again, you can only judge so much from a national league perspective. You're judging really week in, week out, especially with the high volume of games for Europa, Champions League, your regular leagues, the cups, right? So this is it. It's October. This is a critical time for Mark, and hopefully he continues his form here. But I think a really perfect segue, which you brought up here, into our national team. Obviously, with the, I will say, interesting friendlies, we've had some time to reflect. We're not there's brash reactions here, and wanted to pivot this, right, instead of kind of that quick kicks format, but some takeaways, or just kind of echoing our thoughts, right? Concerns, maybe some optimism thrown in there if there is any. From Saudi Arabia, 0-0 draw, the Japan tough 2-0 loss. Austin, I want to throw it to you first. After kind of collecting your thoughts, what did you think of the team, right? The state that we're in heading into November here.
Yeah, so like you said, we wanted to take some time to think about this and not give our raw opinion based
pitchforks.
reactions. Yeah, I was gonna say burn it all down when you were talking, but no, I mean, I have to really draw back on what we said going into this window, right? In our last episode, the biggest takeaway I wanted to see was togetherness and a team on the field, a team that was in sync with each other, a team that was playing for each other and really had an idea of what they were looking to do against these opponents. I drew on the Uruguay game not the Uruguay game, the Morocco game, where we just came out and I would say had our most dominant team performance in that game. And we didn't see that at all in this window, right? Like the first game against Japan, I had the stat pulled up here. The U.S. lost possession 54 times in their own defensive half. Like that's not together at all, right? Like that's just completely opposite of that. I mean, I don't really have any other words to describe it. It was just, we were in shambles all window. And I thought that was the biggest thing that was lacking, right? Was just our ability to be on the same page and trust each other, play for each other. The motivation was just not there in both games. We didn't have much energy at all, especially in that Japan game. I thought it was one of the worst games we played, to be completely honest, especially under Greg Berhalter, but even just in the past, 4 or 5 years, right? Ever since we missed the plane to Russia, I thought that was one of our worst performances, even when you look at some of those performances.
Like a horrible flashback.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it was terrible. And Saudi Arabia, I thought was a little bit better, but again, it still was a lesser opponent, and again, just not the performance we were looking for as our final World Cup tune-up. So that was the biggest thing that really, going in, that was my biggest takeaway, and coming away, that's my biggest, negative or thing that would really like angers me coming away, frustrates me coming away from the window.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really good takeaway to transition to my thoughts here, where maybe it's a byproduct of this, but and not to solely blame right on coach or there's some fault in the players. It's equally distributed, but kind of trickles down right from the culture you've built from Berhalter, right? And obviously it's
Yep.
I'm not in the camp to brash reaction to just fire him right now. It's been done before with other plays in the past, but
Yeah,
I think
we can't do that.
We can't do that. We got to ride this out. We got to root for our team, right? Hopefully they can turn around for the group stages and then hopefully into the knockout. But yeah, I think Berhalter just really has to look at himself in the mirror because there was no plan B or C. There was just his plan A, putting kind of square pegs and trying square pegs into a round hole and just not fitting there. Obviously with some injuries and things, but just examples, right? With Japan, no changes there. Our center backs are struggling to play out of the back. Our midfield just lost complete control. No service or chances there for our attackers. And just, again, maybe substitutions were planned there, but just too little too late and just looked pretty bad in that sense. And then obviously you wanted to see a little bit different against Saudi Arabia in a more maybe comparable lower block to maybe an Iran or a team like that we might face, and couldn't generate anything. Saudi Arabia adapted very, very well to some of our tactics and even started to push back and looked a little bit more threatening in terms of their chances in the final third. And Greg just didn't seem to have any answers. And I think that really fizzles through players right on the field. Your confidence gets shot. You're not seeing that togetherness. You're doubting maybe this whole plan, right? And they've had some tough stretches. I think some games away, right? And obviously you're seeing that World Cup is fully away. We've had some great success in qualifying home, but away we've just been atrocious. And even these friendlies and neutral grounds, not very good. So Berhalter really needs to be a little bit more flexible in terms of saying, hey, maybe a different profile or player we can bring, or hey, switch something around in terms of what he's asking the center backs to do. Maybe play some longer balls or not play out of the back all the time. Just little things like that. I think he needs to be more cognizant of for the group stages.
Yeah, and I have no faith that that's going to happen, to be honest. I mean, you haven't seen too much flexibility from him.
No.
You've seen some times where we've played like 5 at the back, 3 at the back, and have tried different formations. And some different tactical nuances, but I think he just has this way of playing, right? And he's really just trying to push that going into the World Cup, especially to build that togetherness, right, and to build that identity so that we have something to fall back on when things get tough and when teams press us. We can try and stick to that. But at the end of the day, I think again, we're just not playing with the players that are doing well right now, or putting those players in the position to do well for our national team, right? Like, a lot of these players came into camp in good form, right? Like, all the strikers were doing really well.
Sargent, Pepi, no people,
yeah,
but
I guess center backs weren't. I mean, that's the one critique, right? Is like Aaron Long's not in great form in MLS and hasn't been for the past few months. Walker Zimmerman even. I haven't watched too much of him this year, to be honest. So, I don't 100% know, but from what I've seen and read, his season hasn't been the best. So, again, trying to ask them to play again in a role where they're more ball playing center backs for the national team, where in their club teams, it's not necessarily their role. And, maybe they're not the most comfortable with that. And I feel like we got to really play to the strengths to our team. And, maybe that's something we'll do with the next coach. Cause again, I don't know if Greg Berhalter is going to figure that out. But the one thing I wanted to say is like, the one thing that Greg Berhalter can definitely have an influence on, in his tenure with the national team is just keeping that motivation with the team. Right. And he can get mad on the sidelines, but he needs to, get those players to have a sense of accountability, right? When things aren't going well. Is there ways where he can kind of rally the troops and motivate them, to get them to figure things out on the field and play with some passion, right? Play with some energy. You didn't see any energy in that Japan game. You saw a lot of frustration, which again, if you can channel that frustration into motivation in the right way, then it could be really positive for us. But I don't know. I feel like that's something to look at and hopefully, bring some more about it. But
I completely agree. And again, maybe more on a
yeah.
I think just an interesting take is this World Cup is in such an odd portion of the year, and not saying as an excuse or anything. So take this, however you like, but maybe just cautious in terms of injuries. But again, you could argue from the club's sake there. Some players nervous in terms of being on the bubble or not, maybe following through according to plan and trying to take things into their own hands. I think Berhalter's used some of those excuses as well, but maybe some of that and just these friendlies and odd neutral grounds and having, as opposed to having that full stadium, of Qatar, right, the World Cup, some of the U.S. fans, some of the other fans, the environment, the atmosphere, either will make or break you. And I'm hoping, like you said, right, and we've seen some confidence from these guys in the past with clubs and even, for a country, when they're at their highest moments, maybe that kind of reality, once they get there, they can kind of put all that aside and just, again, look better 50-50, look aggressive. Maybe the tactics aren't, up to a Brazil or even England per se, but just give a fight, a true dog fight. And I think they certainly have that in them. So I am optimistic a little bit in terms of just put this in the rearview mirror, get back to the club form like they're doing, regroup in Qatar there and just prove it in the world stage and put all the doubters to rest. And I still feel like they can do that and get out of the group stage.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They don't even need, Greg Berhalter's input to get motivated like that, right?
No.
Like, as much as he could play a role in that, I think at the end of the day, it's gonna, fall with them, right? Like, can Tyler Adams or Weston McKennie, the group of them, right? Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, and Christian Pulisic just come together and be like, all right, guys, like, come on, this is the World Cup. This is what we've been waiting for. Let's go out and, play our butts off. And, it doesn't have to be necessarily Greg Berhalter leading the charge. It can be, a group of players or a group of leaders within the team that can hopefully spur that on for us. But again, when you think about post World Cup, like, I don't know, again, what the leadership of, our federation is going to do, but I think there's a lot of questions, that have been asked over the tenure of Greg Berhalter. And, personally, I think, we need something different. I think, again, we'll see what happens in the World Cup. Maybe that'll change opinions, but who's available, right? Like, Jesse Marsch is the name on a lot of people's minds, right? But he made a statement at Leeds during the international window, basically affirming that he wants to stay at Leeds, and I don't blame him. I think he has.
I don't blame him either.
Yeah, he has some years there, and hopefully, things turn out well for him this year. Maybe he gets another opportunity at a better team in the Premier League. But I think they just need to, the federation needs to be smart in what they do, I guess, post World Cup and figure out what that not only next year plan is, but, looking out to the 2026 World Cup. And even after that, like, if you want Jesse Marsch, when's the best time to get him? What type of coach do you need if you really want to get him but can't right now? I don't know. There's a lot of questions, right? Is there another coach that we, could get right now that's better than Jesse Marsch? And does he fit the team and how it's going to play, right? I think we need a coach that does a lot more of the pressing tactics and, maybe is more of a motivator than a tactics guy, right? Because we've started to see that, we wanted someone who was a tactics guy after Jurgen Klinsmann, right? And, we got this guy with Greg Berhalter who had so many tactics and ideas about how we should play, and it's kind of not materialized in the way we wanted, right? So maybe it's time to kind of, find someone that does something a little bit different. I don't know. I know some people have some harsh opinions about that.
I know. I'm in the same boat, though. I agree with you. Just looking beyond for 2026, I think this is a great time to show kind of the young talent and see how we do in the world stage of 2026. I don't think Berhalter's that guy, right, to lead us there. And
you're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
Yeah, exactly. But I just feel good, about where we are. We're having these conversations, these difficult conversations we have to with the caliber and the quality of players we have, and I'm sure they'll be able to regroup Boston. So, I didn't feel good initially after those friendlies, but just taking it in, looking holistically, that American spirit, right? That there's this moment, right, of do or die at the World Cup. I just, from from Tyler Adams to McKennie to even Pulisic, right? And just the heartache he went through Trinidad. Even Yedlin being there, I just think some of these guys and the personalities, when it comes to the real deal, I don't think we're just going to sit there and take 4 or 5-0 losses. I think it's going to be a true fight, and with good club form here that we're talking about, great starts to the weekend here, and hopefully midweek with Champions League and Europa League, we'll be in the right direction. So I'm trying to stay positive.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it because I know a lot of people are struggling to stay positive right now. So we appreciate your optimism, Pat. So yeah, I think with that, we'll have to see, what next week brings, with some more club games. Like you said, we got, Champions League this week, Europa League, Europa Conference League, however you want to put it. We got a lot of action that we'll be able to cover next week. So with that being said, that's all for episode today, guys. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel down below.
Don't forget social media, Instagram, Twitter, always putting great USMNT content out for you guys as we get closer to November.
That's right. And this episode's also available in podcast form. So go check us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. And not the best international window. That's it, right? We're heading into the 2022 World Cup here in, a little over a month. And I know we're both excited, and it presents an opportunity, right, Pat?
Yeah, it does. I know, excited, nervous, right? It's kind of this up and down storybook here. And you just feel something magical in the air, when the World Cup starts. And yeah, I'm just excited to enjoy it all because it only comes around once every 4 years, and eventually we're gonna hold something high and celebrate.
That's right.
One day, right?
That's right. Yeah, we're gonna savor it. We gotta embrace it. We gotta really, feel it. Right? We gotta feel what winning the World Cup would be like, because that is one day we will win that elusive World Cup.